got any money between 2012 and presently, or even between 2009 and presently. And then, so what do we have to look forward to by 2020? Now they're saying it's a floor, but is that comforting words for us when
What does
there's
that mean,
nothing?
it's a floor? Like,
That means minimum. That's the,
Okay.
but they're saying it's the minimum target.
But is it legally binding?
No, the floor is not legally binding because it's in the decision text. What is in the agreement is the promise that the developed countries will continue to take the lead in mobilizing finance.
Yes.
What is that? We're very skilled in this kind of language. It just simply means they will continue trying. They can try for the next 100 years. It doesn't mean anything. So what are we going to tell our people when we go back home? Did we actually land something here? Or just, you know, a bunch of nice words to say they will continue trying? And that hasn't gotten us far in the last several years.
And now what's going to happen now? Like the text is going to be, be debated and...
It's going to be debated. What usually happens is that within a few hours they're going to adopt it. We're still hoping for a miracle that some countries will really stand up to fight, but based on previous processes, it just means if there are changes, they're going to be minimal.
And who could be those champions? Like, who
well,
could you see?
there are a number of very unhappy countries from Africa, from what they call the like-minded group, you know, from all of the ALBA countries to the big countries like China and India. There's a lot of unhappy countries also from the least developed countries. But the recognized leaders of many country groupings have, it seems, already succumbed to the pressure from the US and other rich countries. So we don't know. I mean, what happens in these kinds of processes is most of the country governments from the South will generally tell themselves, we will live to fight another day. And try to grasp at something in the agreement that will give them some kind of hope that they will fight another day. An example would be the exclusion clause in the loss and damage. No, the how do you say, the kind of comfort, I don't know how to say in English, the comfort there is that it's moved out of the agreement text into the decision. So that exclusion clause that prevents us from seeking liability or compensation is not legally binding, but the decisions are in implementation of the agreement. You know? So it also has the same kind of strong effect. But they take that as kind of a hope. That means they can still argue and fight it out next time. So in some sense it's true, but the effect of that is actually preventing countries from calling it what it is right now. That it's actually a closing off of any kind of meaning at all for the international community recognizing loss and damage.
Did you ever anticipate it would be such a huge disappointment?
Well, yes, frankly, but it's actually worse than we thought it was. I mean, like a few months ago, we didn't expect this exclusion clause. A few months ago, we would have expected at least, you know, they go through the usual convention language of, like in finance, new, additional, and so on. So at least it still doesn't promise you concrete things, but at least it's a reiteration that we're not just talking about any finance here, we're talking about new and additional. It's not just any recycling of old pledges, right? But even that language from the convention is missing here. In the mitigation part, we already knew because the INDCs were submitted way before Paris, and the total aggregate net impact, all of the reviews agree that it's not going to help us at all in keeping it below 2, much less 1.5. So we are already experiencing the effects of a change in the international regime that the US started in 2009 in Copenhagen, which is what? It's no longer a global community coming to grips with what is required and then allocating what we're going to do. It's a global community just saying, well, everything is voluntary. We will just volunteer what we want to do, what we intend to do.
I mean, I come from Egypt and I know how things are done. I mean, in a voluntary way, nothing is going to be done.
Yes, and in very untransparent ways.
Yes.
There's no involvement of civil society.
Can I check what your organization is?
I'm with the Asian People's Movement on Death and Development, but our larger network is the Global Campaign to Demand Climate Justice.
Thank you.
Finally, it was